It's the cursed country. It's the cursed country. Here I go crazy. I'm going to go crazy. I kept it together the whole show. It's cursed. I'm telling you, they dropped a bomb here. It's cursed. How could they have done this? A nation with gigantic potential. Gigantic. People's concern. Yeah, I swear to you. Come in. It's that we solved this issue. Mana, Amanda, our councilwoman, introduced the anti-Euro law, and then we turned this around. But it took a year and a half. For a year and a half, we took a beating, what you're saying, it's just trap music, he's talking. Reality, no, one thing is to talk about reality. Mano Brown talks about reality there. He might hate me since he's kind of a PT supporter, but I don't think Mano Brown is a spokesperson for the PCC.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most anticipated articles ever, even if it's a catchphrase from 10 years ago. Man, the presidential race has started, and we're going to bring in everyone who's willing to sit in this chair. We're going to invite everyone. I know there are already people. I know people who are here.
Thank you. Wow.
It's giving a voice to the Brazilian right, to the fence sitters, to the left, to the right. Everyone is invited, just like in the last mayoral elections where we invited people and some didn't come. Yeah. Is it my fault? Zero, right? My podcast could be crap, the guy doesn't want to come, or my podcast could be something that might affect how people vote, we don't know. But today we have him, Renan Santos. I think he's the third most important name right now in the presidential race. Yeah, that's really significant for you, man. You're the guy who suddenly, you could be the third guy in the running for president. No,
it's not because I lose. I still finish third.
No, that's fine. But like, you were the guy who, I don't know, 20 years ago you were playing Atari, and now you're the guy who could be a candidate there.
Yeah, you could say that, but I don't feel anything. I'm kind of, I think, closed off in my own world. So that's how I see it. I would like to win. So it's not enough yet. And even though I don't want to seem like, that obsessive genius, I just think, no, it's nothing like that.
I can't smell. Ronaldo, that's it.
No, I just don't feel anything. Cool. Every day now, it's all polls, research. I look cool. Yes. Okay, it got better. But when you get into the workflow, you don't really feel things anymore. You just have reactions and ideas.
All right, we're going to talk a lot about, I want to understand who Renan Santos is, just like I also want to understand the other candidates who are here. Let's talk about proposals, the way I wanted to do it here on Achismos TV. And I know that everyone actually enters the presidential race to get an insider kit. I heard about that. Yes, it's true. People, you want to go on podcasts to get those kits.
Yes, exactly. I don't have a podcast, but I participate in one, and I'm in a WhatsApp group. They're saying, let's get the insider kit, especially that really cool cobalt blue one.
Exactly. So I'm a little afraid to give you this and end all your motivation to keep playing.
Actually, it's the opposite. The goal for us in the guest club who join the podcast to get things from Insider is for you to gather everything, including the underwear.
I see. So with each podcast, we'll see if he stays as president and you win.
It's a lottery since you can't repeat too often.
So here's what I'll do. I'll take a part out of the kit and you'll only get the underwear if you keep going and come back to win the underwear. I had a good term in office. Underwear. Cool.
An incentive policy.
All right. It's an incentive policy, a meritocracy. Exactly. Here it is. Insider's kit.
Got a cream. Didn't have one before. Very good.
See? Did you see?
I'm already rocking the look, but the guy's going to do it. Man, can I leave now? Thanks. No.
The underwear is still for you, bro. It's for you.
It's an election, and you're going to take off your underwear.
The underwear that hugs your balls is in case you sit in the presidential chair. To sit there, right, your balls are going to get yanked a lot, so the underwear has to do its job perfectly, right? We can continue from here. Renan, man, I know you from MBL. I know you as the founder, right, of MBL, and you're always there, man, always in that public discourse. I think since 2013, maybe, that's when you showed up the most.
Yeah, I started in 2013, and MBL started in 2014 because I went to the 2013 protests, the ones over the 20-cent fare hike. Yeah, I began preparing what became MBL around late 2013, and we set it up in 2014, okay?
So you've been in this public debate for quite a while, at least in this. Yeah.
About 12 years at least.
Being active online, which I believe is the main platform where you got your start. And now you're running as a candidate, okay? I mean, what has it been? 6 months since you decided to get into this game? 7 months?
Let's go.
Do you really believe you can be president? Why am I asking you this? It might seem like I'm asking, what's your angle? But it's almost like this. Today we have a system, right? With Lula, with Bolsonaro, there's a strong right, there's a strong left. How does an outsider like you or anyone else consider the possibility of breaking through that and getting into the system?
How do you become an insider after being an outsider?
Insider done. More advertising, and this one goes to Renan.
You get underwear. Let's go.
You won. Congrats, you got underwear.
The show was already worth it. Yeah, man, first of all, I know a lot of people think it's presumptuous, right? Who are you? Man, you're nobody. Honestly, I had 170,000 followers on Instagram. When I started, I didn't even have TikTok. I did well on YouTube with daily afternoon live streams. And that's speaking as Renan, my internet persona, right? My work has always been behind the scenes and organizing groups. I'm much more the CEO of MBL and the party. So I like to create things. I like to manage people. I like to organize. I like to take risks in communication to point out a certain path. I think that's my main focus. I'm an organizational leader. That's basically the job of a president, a politician. No, a good politician does that. I founded Brazil's second largest politics and culture magazine and created MBL. I'm the architect behind many of the positions and innovations that MBL has created over the past few years. I set up, together with a very good team, a bunch of tech guys, the whole signature collection model for the Mason Party, because Bolsonaro couldn't do it, but we did. It's funny how some people online keep saying Renan doesn't have a degree. I went to law school at USP, yet those who insult me, what have you done?
Did you study law?
At USP, and I dropped out. And I dropped out because I went to work. It's not that I dropped out because I wanted to enjoy life. I dropped out to work. He doesn't have it, but that's okay. I'm a capable person, modesty aside. Bolsonaro and his group failed to form a political party, getting less than a third of our signatures, even with more money. Why? Because we brought brains to the process. I've always excelled at this.
So would you call yourself an administrator then?
I wouldn't say it to sound cool or arrogant. I'm much more than that. A creator, maybe a bit of an ideologue. I'm even less of a public figure. I dislike being one and sucking up to people. I don't think I'm particularly friendly. And what's your name again?
And how does that work in politics, right? Because politics is the art of, in some way, building relationships, including having dialogues even with people you disagree with. When you create the MBL, I understand that you have an algorithm there for the people you look for. So you're going to have a group of people who have something in common with you. When you become president, you want, damn, I'm in an executive position, maybe governor in the future and so on. You're going to have to deal with the guy from the left and you're like, this guy is good, but it's easier.
The open enemy is the easiest to deal with. Because you can sit down with an opponent knowing that the boundaries already exist before you even sit down with him. The problem is the traitor, the phony, the fake friend, the fake ally. And Brazil is a country that hates traitors but loves betrayal. We condemn traitors but embrace betrayal. Brazil is among the world's least trustworthy countries. That's the truth.
Scams, you mean? Everything.
Brazil is a country of scams and tricks. And Brazil is the country where the Tigrinho game is booming. Brazil is the country of coaches who sell courses promising you'll get rich. Brazil is a country where people are scamming each other all the time, from politicians to the guy at the bus station selling you a winning ticket.
How do you make people not see you as that kind of person?
By being so honest that it even hurts them. Okay.
Tell me more about that.
For example, I'm not making any promises in my campaign. Flavio Bolsonaro, Lula already had the picana, now he's giving out electricity and gas vouchers. Flavio promised he would give a cell phone to every woman and also to the elderly. The calculation would be about, let's say, around 100, a little over 100,000, 100 million cell phones he's going to give out. Yeah, that would cost, if you take an average of 1,500, just to get any basic cell phone. We're talking about more than 100 million per year because people are going to change their cell phones. That money doesn't exist. That money doesn't exist. No, where is he going to get that money from? More than 100 billion per year. But whatever, he's going to make that up. I'll say it, I'm not giving anything to anyone. I'm not going to give you any cell phone. On the contrary, I'm going to need to make a series of very tough reforms. I'm going to need to do another pension reform. I'm basically going to do a reform, it's complicated to explain here, to de-index spending.
If you want to put it in those terms,
like this, look, Brazil is the only place in the world that adjusts pensions and benefits like BPC through increases in the minimum wage. It's the only place. Or how do you adjust it in the rest of the world? Well, inflation, you have inflation, so you adjust the benefit according to inflation. If you want to give a real increase, then the president or the prime minister or their ministry decides, look, I'm going to grant a real increase for this. In Brazil, if you raise the minimum wage, you automatically increase the retirement benefits and you automatically increase several other benefits. The problem with this is that these people are not working. By not working, you're putting the productivity gains into inactivity. And then you turn what is a real gain into a colossal real expense that becomes a snowball, because every time you raise the minimum wage, that increases government expenses, and more people are retiring, fewer people are working, and then the public accounts are exploding. This isn't popular to say, but I'm going to say it to the people who are listening to me. I will do this. And I advise all elected presidents that they will have to do this. If they don't, Brazil will go bankrupt. So if they say they won't do it, they're lying to you. That's it. I will be too honest for my own good. I'd rather be booed now for telling hard truths and later applauded for fixing public accounts than applauded now for saying what you want and later blamed when Brazil is a mess.
But let's say you, Renan, just took office. Let me lay out a scenario here. You joined. Wow, Renan, you have a 15% approval rating. Do you stick to your...
I'll stick with it to the end. I'd rather be misunderstood than not do what's right. Misunderstood. I don't want to go down in history as a populist jerk. I don't want that. I have no desire. Besides, like I told you, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not interested in... Look, I want to be popular. I don't care about being popular. I didn't care about being popular. When Bolsonaro was at his peak, if I'd wanted to be popular, I'd have been sucking up to him. But I was picking fights with those people instead. I don't feel like it. And then my group, I have a very special group of MBL members, of friends. They're people who also don't care about that.
But didn't the MBL at some point flirt with Bolsonaro, maybe back at the beginning?
To be fair, it's not necessary. In the second round of the 2018 election, yes. In the second round, it was Haddad and Bolsonaro, right? Yes, that's right.
No.
Second round.
Haddad and Bolsonaro. But we always
remained critical, even during the electoral process. We knew it was going to be a very bad government. Anyone who knows Bolsonaro knows. Anyone who has talked to him, to Eduardo.
But did you ever try something like, look, we have support here, we have a position here? No, never. Was there ever that kind of thinking? Never. So you are, let's say, 6 months as...
And just to be fair, it never came from them either. Not only was I not invited, but I also never asked.
All right. So you've been in this new life for 6 months, like you said. So you were the guy who was a law student. Then you did your own thing, all right? Then you founded your party. You also worked before, obviously did your own thing. And now you are a candidate. Is there anything that's keeping you up at night right now? What has changed in your life in these last 6 months?
I don't have a life anymore, and it's keeping me up at night because I'm working more than I should. But I really have to work a lot because I'm starting behind the others. I have to work more.
But what is life like? I think that guessing, like we say, guessing is what you see as cool. It's trying to understand what's going on in your head. What is it like in the mind? What is the life of someone running for president like? I want to know what it's like. Because I understand Lula. Lula is already an old hand at this. He already knows how to do it. You just showed up now and you are, what do you learn? First day, I want to be a presidential candidate. What happened? Did you sit down with some people like, Renan, you have to go to Maceió, and you say, no, I'll go to Maceió. How do you organize that?
Would you prefer a conceptual answer or the story? Whatever you want. So I'll start with the story. When I said, or the team said, I didn't want to be the candidate, I wanted someone of your caliber to be the candidate.
What do you mean?
What? Danilo as the candidate? Yes. I think Danilo is brilliant, a really cool guy, and a decent person. But Danilo is at a certain point in his career.
Did you actually offer it to him, man?
Already?
I remember that, but I thought it was a joke.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
That projection of Danilo being in third place in the last election.
Yes, I ordered a poll.
And why didn't Danilo move forward?
Because he has his own career.
I understand, but did he ever consider it? No.
Danilo wouldn't want to. I think deep down he'd want to. Yes. Danilo is a very, very fair, very honest person.
Very upright. But I think he'd do what Paulo Massal did, actually. He'd crush it in debates, say things, you know? Yes.
He has verbal intelligence.
That's it. That's where it ended. You have it too. Well then, let's agree then. I'll get in the mood.
I'm the president of the party.
Okay? Let's hold on for 6 months. No, I can't. Out of nowhere. I'm depressed. I don't want to. I don't want to go to Manaus. I won't. I don't want to. But go on. Keep talking. So, there I am.
Go ahead. It's you, Renan. Is it me? Is it my turn? Okay.
Calm down. Sorry. I'll put just a little. You told Danilo. Danilo was like, man, I'm going to do it. Damn it. No, it didn't work out.
And the team? Basically, I led the formation of the party for our group. Everyone said, hey, Renan's the management guy, the one who gets things done, because they already saw me as a leader.
Now I cultivate there, right?
Yeah, but that became very public with the party. Like, man, he's going to make it. Bolsonaro couldn't do it. Nowadays, to set up a party, if you do it the old school way, it's about 20 million reais. That's a lot of money.
He tried. What was his party's name?
Alliance.
It didn't go anywhere.
It didn't. And we managed with very little, with donations, selling books online. We did a great job and it worked out. Then people started calling me, hey, Renan Belezão. I said, that's me. Now I need to run a campaign with no money or resources. What should I do? I'm going to travel around Brazil talking about Brazil's problems. I'll show it on my Instagram, which is tiny. And I hope that people will donate along the way and that I'll become more well-known and that I'll show up in the polls. Yeah, that was the plan. So I started. The first one was in Ceará.
Ceará. Why Ceará? Was there any reason?
Because there was the murder of a woman. Her name is Antonia Ione Rodriguez da Silva. She refused the Comando Vermelho's order to poison police officers' food at a school, so they gunned her down. And then I said, man, I'm going to unveil a statue of her in her city. We were in Comando Vermelho territory. After unveiling the statue, we burned their flag. They raise flags. In the Northeast, it feels like an occupation. And then I went to the press, did many interviews, and realized I handled them well. I know how to speak publicly, so I pursued it. Once you start, it's like riding a bike. You just go. Then you get going. You get out of inertia, right? You move into kinetic energy and so on. Yeah, then you go. Until two things happen. I once wrote an article about this, since you probably experience it too. The internet has this even more than TV did. TV had it, but the internet has it too. There's a digital avatar, and there's you. You're the guy who goes to the bathroom, takes a shower, who's at your house.
Jota and CPF, yeah.
But there comes a point when, if you live more through this than through real-life experiences out in the world, you start to be defined by it. When the avatar defines you, instead of you defining the avatar, the downside of being the candidate is that the avatar defines everything, leaving you no space to be yourself. So you don't have time for yourself anymore. You don't have a personal life anymore. I haven't seen my parents in a long time, haven't seen my niece in a long time.
I wanted to ask, when you made this decision, did your family support it?
And my parents think I'm a great, great guy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Father, right? Father too, if not...
Right? I'm screwed.
Right? Father of Fernandinho Beramar, I think that's it.
He's incredible.
Hot?
Even. Orwan's father said he's hot.
It's not something you put...
For no merit, it's not merit, at least they're not afraid.
You brought up the Comando Vermelho earlier. Before we began, I asked about you, like who you are and how things are going. You replied it's tough and that you're getting threats. Did your life change a lot after this turning point? What happened that made you look and say, I never imagined it would be like this?
From the moment I started getting threats, because when I had 1%, 2% in the polls at the turn of the year, I used to say, look, I'm going to destroy the gangs. If it were Fernandinho Beramar, that's cool. Me all messy saying that.
Yes.
Then later with 4%, the other presidential candidates started copying the rhetoric. Then I started to rise. A poll came out last week with 9%, then you become a problem. Then I was in Syrah recently. I made a brief stop in Syrah, but there are some Telegram groups with gang members, and also Discord groups. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? No, I have to take this guy out. Which hotel is he at? Really? Then things started to change.
Did you get that for yourself, or is it like Claudinho 16?
No, it's not. Claudinho 16. Because, you have Telegram, you have groups, and like the gangs, it's not like they're Al-Qaeda, they're not that organized. Things are a bit more open and simple, and that's what makes it easier. Let's say we haven't become a narco state yet, because a gang like the Red Command, it's crude. You can imagine that like Claudinho 16 is a guy who doesn't know how to write, a semi-illiterate guy, and they put a machine gun in one hand and WhatsApp in the other so he could talk to the others. So these guys aren't exactly careful about protecting information. It's pretty crude. Well, it's crude like this. They throw parties with machine guns, of course.
Of course, they're filming themselves on stories and posting the address.
Exactly. There's no care at all. So the good thing about this is that you can find out about it.
And the danger of this is also that you have no choice but to be organized. You could die at any second.
Exactly. That's where luck comes in. I arranged for the federal police to escort us, so I came here to meet you with 7 federal police agents, which all presidential candidates have at their disposal. But look, if I win the election, that's wonderful, because then I'll have the JCI and GSI, then I'll really destroy those guys, I'll light them up. Now, if I don't have it, I will too. If I don't have it, I'll just tell those guys, hey, I saw this guy, that's cool. Hanging out at the bar, it's a good exchange, that's all.
So you have it. In case you lose it, you have some time to apologize to some factions, or even like, no guys, that's not how I meant it.
To say, I didn't mean to kill you.
It was awesome. Ha, kill! It's a joke!
Yeah, babe, there's some poetic license there.
I get it. But was there anything that made you think, I know this question sucks because you're going to say, I can't say that I thought about giving up.
You can stop.
Was there anything that made you say, damn?
Like, man, screw this. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
At 6 a.m, you have to go there, hug the kid, and eat the pastry. Yeah, those pastries are bad, huh? Right?
There are a lot of good pastries.
But there are some bad pastries out there, you know? Yeah, I always look at you, sorry to interrupt you, I see you guys like you and Bolsonaro, who are in some way a figure. I wouldn't call Bolsonaro an outsider because he came from within. He was a federal deputy for several terms. But it's like he's not who you'd expect in that role, right? And at some point, man, it's inevitable you're going to eat the pastry. You have to eat the pastry and kiss the kid, and you're just looking at it thinking, damn.
What the hell? It's just that my campaign doesn't have that.
But will it, won't it? No. It's different. Renan, come here. Not that Renan. It's good.
It's good. It's very key. It's not the profile of our campaign.
But it's going to get there, isn't it?
I don't think it needs to go that far. This is just a model you keep repeating.
Because Bolsonaro did it.
No, he chose to do it. He didn't need to do it. What I mean is, like, you're going to hold public events. You could adopt the idea of picking up and kissing several kids at the popular event. Some parents even bring kids to our events, but the parent who came to our event isn't expecting me to do that. Damn.
A father doesn't kiss his child just to take them to a politician. That's what he does.
But like the guy goes, I take my son, he already knows how I'm going to treat him, and I know how they do things. So I'm not going to adopt the old model. I don't think I need to adopt that old model. That's not what's going to make me win or lose.
Okay.
But, it's not necessary. Now, the things that make me lose my patience are, man, the voter sometimes. The voter's choices, the inconsistencies. Now, I'll give you an example. I was with Donald Trump. Imagine this. Donald Trump sent 2 emissaries. If he sends 2 emissaries here to Brazil, yeah. I even checked with sources I have at the White House. And it's true to say that the voting machine doesn't work, that they're very concerned about democracy in Brazil to stir up a little confusion that helps Flavio Bolsonaro. To stir up some confusion. Okay. Donald Trump, in the same week, he spoke with the secretary, there was his Secretary of Commerce, saying that Brazil deforests too much and creates unfair competition with American agriculture, and that Brazilian agribusiness practices slave labor, in the same week. Every right-wing Brazilian, right-wing should say, this orange guy can go screw himself, he's attacking Brazilian agriculture, which is right-wing. Okay. It's basic, right? Yes. Here it comes. In the United States, the dead vote in the United States. You know that in the United States, without documents, you go and vote. You show up there and vote. Yes, it doesn't make sense. The Americans' democracy, their model is way behind ours. It's not that ours is wonderful. Oh, so you're saying their model is bad. Then Donald Trump goes and says that. Hovenpan, CNN asks, Renan, what's your opinion? I said, I'll record a video. I say exactly what I just told you. Then a bunch of Bolsonaro supporters say, Renan is a PT supporter. He's against Trump.
Okay, I got it. But I go through that too. That kind of thing.
I'm not sure if it's stupidity or bad faith. I often thought it was bad faith, but it turned out to be stupidity. It's because
It gives me the impression that you have to have a 100% ideological package on one side or 100% on the other. And then if you like something from this side, you already start.
But the problem is that there is no solution to any problem. By buying the ideological package, for example, President Lula's foreign policy was to buy the ideological package kind of from the BRICS bloc for China, and he did. I'll give you an example. Why did Lula have an opinion about the war in Ukraine? I have no opinion on the Ukraine war. We're losing to the Commando Vermelho gang, so why should Brazil get involved in Ukraine, supporting Russia? I have no reason to get involved with Russia or the European Union, but Lula wants to because he needs to buy into the whole package, like Bolsonaro had to buy into the US package. I remember when they wanted... No, Bolsonaro won. He's going to move the Brazilian embassy to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem belongs only to Israel. Not even Israel wanted that in Brazil. Brazil was more pro-Israel than Israel itself. So why were they doing that? You need to have a narrative because it's all about taking sides, and that's just stupid. It's not functional. And then the Brazilian political debate ends up just picking sides, and when a real problem comes up, you can't solve the real problem. Why? Notice how sophisticated the United States attack is. It used left-wing arguments against Brazilian agribusiness, claiming it causes deforestation and uses slave labor. They're giving Lula a reason to target Brazilian agribusiness, since it competes with the US, and using this to justify taxing Brazil in other areas. It's a sophisticated strategy. Lula can't openly defend agribusiness and Bolsonaro. Either he sides with Trump or he sides with agribusiness, which supposedly supported him. Bolsonaro obviously is going to side with Trump and pretend this problem didn't happen. I'm thinking about solving the problem. And then people, instead of seeing the answer in a minimally generous way, will only see the package. That is, it's either a lot of stupidity or a lot of bad faith. And the problem is that we're heading into a moment where Brazil is really getting screwed because of this.
So, but you're bringing up something here you've brought up a few times now, things you would do, things you think about, and so on. And it seems to me that Brazilian politics, at least when it comes to the presidency, people vote much more for people than for proposals, right? I don't know. That's just my opinion. And you're someone who's emerging. Lula is very well defined as a charismatic guy, like that guy, and Bolsonaro too, and all that. And now you're coming up, kind of coming in swinging and all, and there are a lot of people who are going to like you. How does it work for you to reach that 50 mark that will get you to the second round? Because, okay, talking about proposals is very interesting. And you, Renan, have you ever stopped to think like this? I need to be lighter. Do you have an advisor who says, Renan, badmouth people less, start saying good things about the old lady, talk less about Trump, talk more about something else? How does this game work?
Yes, but I don't have an advisor. I have
A survey.
There isn't much. We just go by guesses, right?
It's like take off the watch, start putting it on. Now that's it.
That's it. We see how it goes. Keep testing. But it's kind of like, yeah, there's a certain inevitability to who I am. You know, I am who I am, and I can't avoid certain things that are completely me. Otherwise, you'll turn into a character and then just become the digital avatar.
But that's not the role of politics, unfortunately. You'll end up making so many concessions that you stop being Renan. And at what point does this new Renan collide with the Renan you used to be?
Believe me, I don't want to lose. That's just my personal life philosophy. Yeah, if I have to become something else, what's the point of doing all this? Otherwise, it's not really me who's there.
Okay.
It's like, it's that I can't swear. This is sent from Renan, yeah, but it's like, it's as if I were getting sexual pleasure from someone else's dick, you know? If I need to be someone else to do what I don't want to do, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to pretend? Why does everything have to be about pretending? So I don't want to, yeah, maybe that's a bit Pollyanna-ish of me, maybe it is, but honestly, I just don't have the patience. I really don't have the patience.
Do you think you started out more optimistic and stopped being so optimistic as the world changed politically? Because I think back in 2013 when you started, you had a lot more of that, right? Me?
I was more fake than I am today.
Do you think so?
I used to think we had to make concessions to unite the right and the anti-PT movement to defeat the PT, but then what did we do? A group of scammers used that same speech, which we call Bolsonarism. Watch out, blah, blah. The left doesn't make those kinds of concessions, man. We have to be ourselves, and we have to be very honest about what we think works or doesn't work. If we keep lying, we'll stay stuck like Brazil. So much so, look, but it's paradoxical. They are very different from each other. Lulism and Bolsonarism, but they're all involved in the same scandals. So when there's a corruption scandal, secret budget, INSS, Banco Master, they're together. But then in the videos, on the internet, they're all enemies. I think that's ridiculous, man. I can't be like that. You have to have a bit of authenticity. And I think there are political leaders in the world who are authentic, both on the left and the right. That guy with the beetle from Uruguay, despite everything, Mujica. He was authentic. He is. He was a very authentic guy. Not really from my political side, but he was very authentic. So I think Milei is authentic. Yes, or let's put it...
Trump is authentic.
Trump is not very authentic. I don't think so, but he is authentic.
Do you think Bolsonaro was authentic? I think São Paulo has it.
Lula. Is Lula authentic? I think Bolsonaro is authentic. Lula? Okay. Lula is authentic. I think the authentic one, he has support too. And the system is hostile to authenticity.
What do you notice about that?
Because
you're not in the system.
It's like this, no. But what makes you less authentic is the political career, for example. If I say, congratulations, Mirels, you weren't, man, very political with me. You can clearly picture what I just meant. I mean, you didn't ask tough questions, you calmed down, you knew how to be diplomatic with me. No, but you get it, the term political. That's why I'm going to show a series of things like you're dressed like a politician, you picture a certain outfit, you acted like a politician, you picture a certain kind of behavior and that kind of thing, which is the generic guy who doesn't have strong opinions about many things, who talks to everyone. This guy is the typical Brazilian politician, which is a big part of the centro politicians. Yeah, the guy is kind of slippery. This guy, clearly he's good. To win a mayoral election and get a few generic lawmakers elected, good morning, councilman, but he doesn't take on any major national project.
I totally agree with you, because the guy will show up, he'll have it. The United States and a China in need. Which one do you choose? You can't just play both sides and help them both. You'll have to make a stronger decision. I was going to ask you about Collor, right? Because Collor had this outsider thing. You know, he came in.
He wasn't authentic, right?
He wasn't genuine. Collor was part of the system. But what I was going to tell you is that I just watched the Collor documentary, which, by the way, is really good. Man, I think it's from Globoplay. Did you get to see it? Something I think about.
They actually make some good documentaries, man.
It's really good. I recommend watching it. If you were born in the 80s, it's especially great and brings back childhood memories. And there's something about it, Collor. He was a big hope for this movement. Like, we weren't living in a polarized time, but he was like, man, I can't stand polarization anymore.
Modernization of Brazil.
I can't stand Brazilian politics anymore.
It was the dictatorship versus the MDB, the whole long-live democracy crowd with the same old politicians from that era.
It was a kind of polarization, not like today. But back then, Collor came in as the big name of this change, this makeover, and he failed. It makes you feel uneasy being the new Collor, like, damn, what if Renan fails in some way, man? I trusted you, Renan, damn it, because Collor took the savings from the people and you. What are you going to do to screw me over? Does that give you this sense of responsibility?
No, because knowing his story well, it has nothing to do with me. My failure will be for different reasons. People don't really know what Collor wanted to do, Collor promised. The core of Collor's energy was, I'm going to modernize Brazil. Your car is a cart, right? He seemed to have a dynamic image, riding jet skis and practicing karate.
Young, into karate, handsome guy, etc.
I'm not in that line. My line is different. My line is like this. The other day, someone defined us as the right of people getting screwed, the right of people who are broke. It's the right of the iFood delivery driver, of the guy who owns a shop. It's the famous
right-wing poor person that people talk about. And
at the same time, the talented kid, the talented girl who can't see a future. In a country that's only discussing stupid things like, oh, another argument between Erica Hilton and Nicholas about trans bathrooms. Seriously, like we don't even have bathrooms with sewage access. You don't have a bathroom. But he can or can't be trans. This is crazy talk.
yes,
And then we became the right wing for those people, and that's very different. Not disappointing someone who isn't already disappointed is very different from not disappointing someone who already is.
do you think that if you were a left-wing guy, you would have more, let's say, media exposure?
Yes, actually, if I were a left-wing guy, I'd be a major figure on the left, so why don't I share their values? No.
That's fine. It doesn't depend on that. I mean, like about...
But you have this belief.
So the system, for example, benefits the left over the right, and you do think so.
Especially if you're center-left. Kind of modern, like Tabata is. Wow. The press thinks that's just great, because the mainstream view of the press is like that. It's not a radical left. It's more like, oh, trans bathrooms, but let's start a startup.
Yeah, and how are you going to govern with all this constant pressure? Because the media manipulation is really strong.
It's huge. I'll get along well with the press.
Okay.
Why? Because I don't treat the press badly, even if I don't agree with them. And I'll be very honest with the press. And the press knows what we want more and more, okay? So the press, even if they lack knowledge or still have some cliches. I'm not going to stand there saying that I'm going to shut down Globo. On the contrary, the press can be useful for a national salvation government. I believe many good people work in major media, including the families who run them. We could agree on shared goals like ending organized crime, eliminating Brazil's slums, and fixing its economic problems. Some things aren't up for discussion, like public security, no matter what, even if Globo disagrees. Some experts argue that sentences should be lenient, that you can't build more prisons. I said, man, it didn't work. You've been at this for 30 years. We're going to try another path. Don't get in my way. Here, let's make the streets safer. It's good for everyone, right? Trying to build this with the press itself and knowing that the press will have to keep me in check. Sometimes the press will be unfair, and other times it'll just hit hard. But that's life. I don't think the relationship with the press will be bad.
A lot of people say that about you. It's not my view, but a lot of people say you're even more extreme than Bolsonaro. Have you ever read that kind of opinion, and what do you think about it?
I don't say extreme because the word extreme, I'm choosing, let's say, to be critical of myself here. I'm more right-wing than Bolsonaro. It's just that I don't think Bolsonaro is even close to being an extremist. I think Bolsonaro is a centrist. What are the extremist positions of Bolsonaro's government? Bolsonaro might have been extremely pro-corruption.
Maybe it's more of a behavioral thing. People made that association, right? The fact that, I don't know, there was one comment or another.
They say, but his government was centrist, a centrone government. Just like Lula, Lula is not an extreme leftist, except for his support of left-wing dictatorships. Lula's government is a centrist government.
So, but nowadays, when you say that you're more right-wing than Bolsonaro,
I'm being precise, but people don't understand how I say it.
they're going to call you a fascist.
They're going to call you, but then I have to be. Either I'm precise in what I say, or I'm going to say Avatar is going to tell me. No, I'm not that guy. I'm a center-right person because people might think that Bolsonaro is radical, but Bolsonaro is not radical, you know?
You're a center-right guy. You consider yourself a center-right guy, and Bolsonaro is a center-right guy. So you're to the right of Bolsonaro. Exactly. I see.
When did enforcing law and order and eliminating criminal groups become seen as extremist or right-wing? Like, try to start a criminal faction in China, it's not going to happen. Go to a more centralized left-wing regime. So, am I supposed to say they're far-right extremists then? None of them allow you to take a piece of territory and give it to drug traffickers. Yes, that's crazy. So why am I considered a far-right extremist because of that? Why am I labeled far-right just for wanting fiscal reform to cut expenses?
It's crazy, and behavior-wise, how do people see Renan? What is Renan? I hardly ever hear Renan is a liberal guy, Renan is a guy. Because I remember you said something once, it even caused some controversy, like how is Renan, who's more right-wing? I remember you said something about mushrooms, something like that, that you used. I don't know if you had tried something like that. And people threw that out there like the guy is anti-drugs, but at the same time, he uses them.
It's the first thing about mushrooms. And just now, a decision came out from the Supreme Court that selling it is not a crime. It's not a criminal organization. But what? What does that mean?
I mean, this whole anti-drug issue, trafficking.
Here's what I think.
Individual freedoms.
Individual freedoms that Brazil, at some point, might enter into a discussion about the legalization of a drug like marijuana. Now is not the time, simply because criminal factions have become so powerful that confronting them won't happen just because I ease or liberalize cannabis laws. That won't make a difference. The PCC's revenue comes from exported cocaine, and they launder and reinvest those profits in the financial market, gas stations, and various sectors. So it's not about that anymore. We could have had this discussion 40 years ago. Yeah, there's still debate about whether families support drug legalization. Yes. I think that's a discussion for later, but I won't argue it morally, since I'm not a moralist. I have my own value system, I have things I believe in and things I don't. What I won't let happen in Brazil is moralism from either side. So this agenda of saying you can't use a certain pronoun, you can't make a joke about this. You make that comment and it's structural racism, sexism, whatever. This is moralism from a civil religion because it is a civil religion. It just doesn't have a God in the metaphysical world, but it's a civil religion. And this civil religion, it's moralistic, and it wants to restrict people's freedom. I'm against these guys. Now, if the guy is trans, if the girl wants to smoke marijuana, and that's legalized one day, that's not a problem, even if it's legalized. I'm not going to go around preaching about other people's behavior. I think that's annoying.
But what is Renan like?
King Renan is this guy.
But Renan, he's like, man, let's put it that way. Because you're young. How old are you?
I'm 42.
My age. Damn, I called you young.
Then we're screwed. No, that's not young.
You just hit me.
Young, we're screwed.
Right, man. It's just that nowadays, damn, we see that Silvio Santos show where one guy was 18 and the other was 70. It's true. I consider myself young compared to that. You're my age. So, like, we still have a lot to offer. And me, at my age, 42 years old, I lived through a kind of liberal generation.
Huh? Liberal, exactly. We're the generation for whom female sexual freedom was treated as the norm.
Yeah, we're a group that's kind of like that.
Man, our generation was the generation of marriage is a business deal, man. That's cool. That's cool.
Damn, tried some weed, man.
That's right, okay? It's the millennials, man. It's the millennial generation. That's what the millennial generation is. And I've always been that guy. I understand that we were naive to imagine that some of these agendas weren't part of a political agenda that aimed to restrict our freedoms. Deep down, an important part of an agenda that we, in principle, of course, like I'm in favor of two people who love each other being able to live together and share their assets together. I think it's authoritarian to be against that. Now, I didn't know that by defending this, I was promoting an agenda and ended up with Erica Hilton wanting to silence anyone who uses a term she considers transphobic. Like, you opened the door to A and ended up at Z really fast. Like, I don't want Erica Hilton giving her opinion about this. Now, I think it's totally fine for gay people to be able to get married. Two women want a civil marriage. Go ahead, get married, no problem. They'll just complain later. Yes, that's fine. Okay? Now, we didn't have... Maybe in our generation, there was a certain innocence in not noticing the connection of this that would lead to, let's say, semi-democratic regimes that happen in democratic systems. Supreme courts in Europe act like dictatorships. In England, discussing immigration can get you arrested. If you say that you don't want so many people from Bangladesh coming to live in your city and raping the girls in your city, you get arrested. England is one of the countries that arrests the most people in the world today for their opinions. How did things speed up so quickly? So I think there was some innocence in our generation in understanding what was happening.
Maybe a confusion between what is conservatism and what's generational. Because you, in some way, do you consider yourself a conservative person?
In some ways, yes.
But you're that kind of conservative from the 80s, you know? Who was born in the 80s? Who's conservative? But it's that thing where you grew up around gay people, grew up around weed, grew up with all that, but still tries to keep the...
In my personal life, I have a profile you could call conservative, but I'm not at all moralistic. Yes.
That's very different. People often confuse conservatism with moralism.
The issue with the world is any form of moralism.
But there are many conservatives who are moralists.
Because Lula, and really, they're not conservatives. My main criticism of all of them is their personal lives. You even interviewed one of them here and brought up his past. Let's say Nicholas, for example. Almir, who used to be a fan of pop divas, and now he's very moralistic. I can't stand moralists at all. Erica Hilton is a moralist. These are people who have a moral system and want to impose it and keep denouncing everyone. I don't want to live in a moralistic country. Yes, I want to live in a country where we have common values, and when there's a difference, that difference is respected, not imposed. Respected.
So because you're really open-minded about this, you're now entering a place like that. It hasn't even started yet. The elections are about to begin. Things are really going to heat up soon. Man, I believe you come from a generation of damn communication, WhatsApp. Your crap will come up and we'll see it soon.
It's all come out already, right? It's all come out.
All the shit that was supposed to come out already came out.
It's been 10 years picking fights.
But I mean crap like, for example, obviously there was Arthur's audio.
There was something he said like, oh no, let's get everything. Let's go. Let's do what they're going to say. Renan had businesses. He went bankrupt. I never went bankrupt. I was a partner. I worked at a company. I didn't bankrupt that company. And I worked with business recovery. He had issues. He's really dumb. The company he worked for was in debt. Seriously. Petrobras is the biggest tax debtor in Brazil, so the Petrobras board should face criminal prosecution. If you look at Carrefour, there are a lot of labor lawsuits. All the big companies have them. They have lawsuits. I was an honest businessman. There was nothing criminal against me. Then they're going to want to use that. They're going to want to use a joke I made with a friend at a gathering after an MBL event in 2017 or 2018, which is a bad joke, but was taken out of context when I said, if the bar we go to is terrible, Barbara will get raped. Because I was imitating someone at that moment, they put me on top of a trash can. Everyone was kind of drunk. It was a private party. They were pretending I was like a barbarian, that we were walking in the middle of the street in front of Ingrid's house. Indugentina, by the way. And then I said, we're like barbarians walking down the street because we had been insulted. Are you imitating me? Yeah, I said several times that I was going to set the cars on fire. Let's destroy the bars, the people we love. And then they just took that part and posted it. They're spreading it around. They're going to keep spreading it. But Barbara, who's my friend, she herself goes public and defends me. Renan is my friend. We're making a joke.
Because my theory, I'm starting to discover more and more. Like, it's going to be much harder for you to have a candidate, right, who isn't afraid of crap. In the age of social media...
Exactly, because your life is all recorded here.
Exactly. You're not the only guy out of all these candidates who grew up with the internet straight up. You're a digital native, so you damn. Imagine if I became a candidate for federal deputy. But they're going to find crap after crap about me, and they're going to create a damn narrative with context that have nothing to do with it. Yeah, there's nothing you're worried is going to come out.
I mean, things that are already out, like...
There's Renan's orgy. It's not going to blow up, right? Nicholas will find out soon. You don't think it's a little orgy? You don't? They say that here, when you said, I'm going to get into this shit, I'm going to delete everything on my WhatsApp.
We always delete it for security reasons, including information security.
Yeah, if someone gets your phone.
But there isn't. We've never had that. Thank God, man.
The blonde tour really messed you up.
No, I think that's not even something that could be a bad thing. Arthur's saying that I've traveled to Sweden just to hook up with women. It wasn't just to hook up with women. I traveled to Sweden since I've already visited several European countries.
Some people don't want you to be president because they're worried you'll travel to Scandinavia.
About that, because diplomatically speaking, I'm going to end up, let's say, are they afraid that I could help them with trade agreements?
He's not going to Scandinavia all the time.
It's because it's another agreement with Denmark. It's with the...
Nokia.
It is.
But I make deals every week. Thing is, it's a deal with Nokia.
Some might say it's because I said I'd add Ozempic to the SUS. I've already scheduled it.
He goes there all the time, so there's no point in talking about it. But things like that, I feel a little pang of regret. Like, you could have stayed a bit quieter back then.
That one, the person who had to speak was Arthur.
Who spoke, but does it fall on you?
No, it doesn't fall on me, because here's the thing. What's wrong with a guy who, when he was 23, 24 years old, single, traveled with friends to get to know countries, meet people, and go out with women in a consensual and happy way? In fact, I even dated 2 of them. What's wrong with that? Yes, it's wrong. We're not in such a moralistic world that people are going to say it's wrong. Look at what happened. The country of carnival. People set aside a whole week for indiscriminate debauchery. No, my God. The guy said he went to Sweden and that the women are hot. Seriously.
So when Bolsonaro won, I realized people aren't voting for perfection anymore, since Bolsonaro never was. Quite the opposite. He's someone who made many statements people call absurd, yet still became president. So it gives me the impression that squeaky clean political persona doesn't sell anymore. Not today. It would probably be boring, even in the digital media age. I feel like I need to add a more controversial hook to this video.
A controversial hook in the video. Yeah, but I'm not gonna pretend to be something I'm not. For example, maybe my campaign could be bigger if I adopted a strategy like Marsal's. If I, for example, stayed there on the lookout where Lula or Flavio are to catch them on camera and record a video. I'm not that guy because as a party president, I'm focused on long-term goals. I don't want to be...
There's a strategy in you like, damn, I didn't win, but I got my name out there. And to show up, it wasn't about vanity, but about being noticed. Like, look, there are people who didn't know what it was. MBL will become known. There are people who might maybe vote for Kim for federal deputy. Because I did it, is it almost like a collective mindset? Or is it really something I want to be?
No, because there are people more qualified than me for this. Because I'm not exactly the charismatic one, I'm Renan. I asked, are you sure you want to do this? Are you? Then let's go, let's do this.
Whose decision was it?
The group wanted it. That's how it is. Renan, do you want to be president? Absolutely. I've always wanted it. I was born for this and will be the best. But at that moment, when I set up the political party, I was so focused on building the party, finishing the signatures, getting it validated by the TSE, that I wasn't even paying attention to anything else. So, when the trial was over, it was 7-0 at the TSE, in our favor. I said, wow, then everyone was like, Renan?
Go campaign and do it now.
And I said, let's see, I'll give Danilo a call. Who's gonna call Danilo? Are you the one catching the plane now, or is it everyone? Holy shit. There wasn't a single person in my MBL who said no, and I said, okay, they decided, but no, I'll go. I'll come back and put it up. I know it's cool to show that you have a big plan, a big strategy, but sometimes there isn't a big plan, there isn't a big strategy.
Because in my mind, I thought it was no.
There isn't.
In my mind, yes, really. Being honest with you, I said, man, Renan is getting into this so he can become known nationally in some way, and that's going to be good for his party.
I say it like this. That's a side effect. Like we get elected, elect a caucus if I do well and don't win, but if I were just doing it for that, I would use some other strategies. I would focus my campaign only in states where I have federal deputy candidates, especially where our caucuses are smaller, like in the Northeast and North.
You guys are still weak.
Right? Yeah. So I would have stayed much more in São Paulo, Paraná, Rio de Janeiro, where we already have groups that are going to elect deputies. I'm not doing that. I'm running a presidential campaign to win the election. Look, internet autistic community, don't curse me out, but I'm kind of autistic in the sense that it's about winning. That's all I think about.
P. Fox, are you talking?
I don't get sidetracked. This is it. Let's go. I have no other plan and I'm committed. I truly believe in this and will be very upset if I don't succeed.
I mentioned leaked stuff, but you must be enjoying the leaks involving other candidates that are coming out, right? Vocaro is kind of deciding the elections. Yeah, you obviously must have a ton of insider information. Insider. You know what's coming. I saw Kim interviewed by Vilela.
You know what Kim knows?
Do you know?
Yeah, I was following that too.
But what is it they keep telling you all the time?
Yeah, it's talking to journalists, it's talking to lawyers from big firms, or talking to people who talk to other important people in politics. When you get close to the top, the people at the top get the information first, right?
I imagine you must have a lot of information about things that are going to happen in about 3 months.
Yes. And then this thing about Flavio is very concrete, but it wasn't just about Flavio.
The thing is that Flavio hooked up with a girl. He hooked up with a young woman. A woman.
Yeah, someone we know.
A woman known in the political scene. This is where you can say it. You can go this far.
Yeah, better not, right?
Because I also wanted it in the cut. Because strength...
Mauricio, stay strong. Better not.
Because it starts with the letter A. The guy keeps trying A.
Be like that. Because since we're getting to the point where I haven't had access to the material, I don't want to be careless. I am getting access to many highly credible sources which are not related to each other, and they all stated the exact same thing. Through different channels, and those channels are credible too, and some of them saw it. So I tend to think it's true.
I'm going to do something kind of like an economics magazine cover, you know. How many things do you know for sure will happen until election day, political twists and turns, that you already know you're already in that place? People are probably already saying, Renan, you don't know about the audio we have of so-and-so.
There's a lot of material about Flavio from many different sources. A Lula campaign trying to cool down the election. Lula needs two things. He needs to lower his rejection rate a little bit, and he needs to destroy Flavio and prevent me and Caiado, both of us, from rising. For him, that's the perfect scenario. So a low-key election around him, nobody talking about him, and at the right moment, attacking Flavio. And there will be a lot of things about Flavio involving Rio de Janeiro, because Flavio was friends with Bacelar and used to hang out with the THJ's crowd, which people sometimes don't understand because it's a problem in Brazil. They are Comando Vermelho operatives. THJs belong to Comando Vermelho. He is also from Comando Vermelho and was in Flavio's group. Basilar was a political operator for Comando Vermelho in the Alerj. That's not just my view, it's what the federal police say. Yeah, the one just caught. Canella from my hometown, Belford Roxo, had machine guns at home and worked with Comando Vermelho. And militia too. So things about Flavio and Dosti are going to come out publicly. Things connected to the office will come out. About Flavio, they've already found some notes involving the NSS scandal. Willer Tomas, his close lawyer, used to hang out with both the bald guy from NSS and Everton Rocha. Information about that and the master issue will be revealed soon. That's already planned. It's planned that he and Lula are going to try to get me out of the debates. So they're already negotiating with the TV station somehow, because you see there are...
You have to have congressional representation, right?
Yeah, but I don't have a new party. But the TV stations want to put me on. I'm in third place in the polls.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But then they want to make it legal.
They'll find a way to get you out of this.
They can simply say, if he goes, we won't.
I understand. Which could very well happen.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for Lula. And for Flavio, it doesn't either, with me there. So for him, it makes sense to run away. But it could be that the missions might refuse to budge. It's happened before, yes.
Lula and Bolsonaro, which one do you like more?
Who is it? I haven't met Lula in person. I'll talk about the politics, not the person. I haven't met Lula in person. Yeah, so I have nothing to say about him, but I did meet him when I was 5 years old at the end of the Brazilian Championship, 1989, Sao Paulo and Vasco. My father was a Sao Paulo fan, so I went with him to Morumbi. Sao Paulo lost, and Soraro scored.
During Vasco's good times?
Yeah. Saw's famous goal. I think Bismarck was still on that team.
Yes.
Yes. Then Lula went to support Vasco because, in case you didn't know, Lula is a Vasco fan. Corinthians is the team he officially supports. And yeah, my dad crossed paths, right? I was on his lap, and he said, no, this here is Lula. Tell him what daddy says on TV. Then I said, but go take it. He can stick it where the sun doesn't shine. I was a kid, right? Lula just looked. And this stuck with me because I thought it was something heroic that I did, like, wow, I'm Jaspian, I did something heroic. My only experience is with Lula. I knew Bolsonaro. He's very friendly in person.
Are you talking about Jair?
Jair is very friendly. And Lula, they say both are charming in person. Both of them are charismatic.
Right?
That's not the case with Flavio. Yeah, what do I feel about both of them? I have a lot of anger. I have anger because they are blocking something that could be really big. I think this obstruction is horrible, and the fact that people allow this frustrates me a lot.
In the future, there will be a runoff. Lula versus Flavio, with Bolsonaro seeking Renan's support.
That's what I mentioned about hyperfocus back there. I don't imagine a scenario where I'm not in the second round. Because if I imagine that it's just that,
who do you prefer to face?
Me, Lula. Lula, that would be glorious, right? That would be history, Okay.
Look, I have something here that I made, which is, how would you react? Because, I think we're at a moment where there's a lot of talk and all, but I wanted to see in practice things you could actually do. I just wanted to do a hypothetical exercise.
No multitasking nonsense.
No nonsense like that. Let's go. I have here some typical presidential situations. I want to know how you would react in this situation. Let's go. Congress, because one thing is you being there. The common people elected you. The common people like Renan got in. Bam. First day party. Do you have a first lady yet?
No.
You need a first lady. Do you know who it will be?
Yeah, right. That's work to be done.
How's that first lady Tinder going? Are you looking? No.
I have two things.
Is she Swedish?
No. Is it on the app? No. Yes, there is. So...
Some women are showing up saying, hi, I'd like to be first lady. Excuse me.
Mr. Renan, it keeps showing up on Instagram. I think it's a bit complicated.
Yeah, send a fire emoji. A first lady sending fire emojis would go over big.
Fire. She's not the first lady, damn it.
A first lady sending an eggplant to a guy, that's really bad.
That's not very first lady-like, is it?
Okay, but we have to go. You have to find a first lady. Yeah, that's impossible.
Because I put it aside...
Take Saturday.
For that. I put my personal life aside a lot. I don't want to act like I'm sacrificing, but yes, just my personal life. I was in a relationship and my girl couldn't take it.
And she's with Flavio Bolsonaro. No. She appears in Flavio Bolsonaro's video.
That's all.
Let's go. The situation is like this. You came in, Mr. President, first day, that's great, happiness, cigars, all that. The day started, work, and so on. The next day, well, not the next day, let's say a month later, you're feeling like, damn, I'm Big Renan, I'm well liked, right? Now Congress is right there. Congress blocks almost all your proposals. There are a bunch of proposals where Congress says, Renan, good morning, it's not like that.
You're about to... Just to make it clear, I haven't taken office yet. Took office, I won. Took office.
Okay, Because I say this, the first, because we think that the best part of being president is the first day, I believe.
No, I'm not sure about the first 6 months. There's some goodwill.
No, but the first hour as president must be really cool.
No, you're going to be there in Brasilia, in that sun, at the inauguration. January sun in Brasilia, man.
It's bad, but that's okay. Let's move it 6 months ahead. You have a lot of topics, a lot of ideas. You think the world is all rosy, just like you said and all that.
I don't think so, okay?
Huh?
I'm really down to earth.
No, now you are. But like president, first time as president, Congress blocking your proposals, those proposals you said, damn, Brazil wants this. Do you negotiate over government posts, and how far do you go?
Again, no nonsense, no beating around the bush. I'll make sure it doesn't get to that point. From the moment I won the election, not lost, I plan to do what's done in parliamentary systems. The next day in October, I'll ask all parties who wants to form a government with me. You are going to pass a resolution. It's an official party document. To join my government, this is what I won the election defending. The total dismantling of organized crime, tax reform, solving the problems of the federal pact. These are good topics, good to discuss. Reindustrialization of Brazil, competitiveness agenda, changes in the functioning of the Brazilian educational system. Here is the agenda. 30 points, 14 points, as many points as we want. Well then, I put this together yesterday. Pass a resolution from your party supporting this, and you'll come join my administration. The resolution from your party is binding. Your caucus will vote in favor of this with me. And I invite you to join the administration to do it. The letter is public, presented to the entire press, and together we form and build a majority.
But I'm from the MDB, and I'm the majority here, and I'm going to screw your... If you don't give me a position, man, I need a position there.
The Ministry of Fisheries. I wouldn't have any problem if the party signed a resolution and presented good candidates to join the government with me. That's our democratic model, unfortunately. Fair, right? In Japan, or in a parliamentary system like Germany's, you form a coalition of parties and they take over the ministries and they manage them. The issue is our system combines presidential and parliamentary elements. You win the presidency, but also need a parliamentary majority. That's the main challenge here. In parliamentarism, you win a majority in parliament first and then form the government, which is much better. But our system is terrible, leading to poor governability. What I'm going to do is assume it's a parliamentary system, and I'm going to adopt the parliamentary logic of, let's call...
And Brazil doesn't move forward because it stays like that. The guy is elected to the executive, and then he ends up in a struggle. Yes, of left versus right.
I don't want to fight. I'm telling you. I don't want to fight with anyone. I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to fight. I need to manage Brazil. I need to end organized crime and fix Brazil's finances to improve people's lives. Want to see? If I end organized crime and fix public finances, people could buy a cell phone without going into debt and not worry about theft. That's an experience Brazilians currently can't have. You go into debt buying this, then get robbed walking down the street. If I fix this in a year, I'll be the most popular president ever. And it's a very simple thing. Here's a simple agenda Congress must support. If Congress refuses and remains deadlocked, the stalemate will last 4 years and I'll be at odds with them. It's better for them to stay in this conflict.
Look, here's the thing. We didn't censor Renan. Renan is here proving that it wasn't censorship, that there was just a change.
With a weapon, right?
He used his phone and the microphone disconnected. So he was talking about the part where if people could walk around with their phones, you would be the most popular government in history. It's true.
Fixing the government's overspending, which raises interest rates and taxes, would let people afford a phone without going into debt, as many Brazilians do. And if you tackle organized crime and fix public safety, you won't get robbed. So the unique experience of buying something obvious like this, which is necessary to live today, and walking down the street without being robbed, is an experience that is forbidden to Brazilians. It's blocked. The first president to solve this will gain popularity. I want to solve this in the first year.
Yes.
It must be done first in the first year.
Public safety would be the
security with a fiscal agenda. Because if you solve the expenses in Brazil, there will be a lot of unions fighting with me. But if you unlock an inflow of dollars and Brazilian private sector money for us to invest in infrastructure, this country will become a huge construction site. Because the environmental licensing has passed. By the way, Kim was the rapporteur. Kim and Neri Geller. And then this project, it made it easier to do construction. So, having good legislation to do construction, and with money coming in at lower interest rates, Brazil will grow economically and its infrastructure will improve. Railway, highway, port, airport, grain storage, silo.
Who do you admire among the people in today's new politics? Like you mentioned Millie, Trump. You're going to take it, I'm not.
I don't like Trump, I'm being honest.
But is there anyone from that group that you admire?
I think Buchel is a good president, and what he's doing for his people's self-esteem is amazing. I don't agree with everything he does, though, and I'm not fully on board.
Me saying this.
I like Melania and his campaign. He went and made those 16 moves that I make. Look, I'm going to do this. It's unpopular, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done.
I think it's about removing the positions and such. Yeah.
He also made unpopular reforms. Yes, he did. So the guy who goes into a campaign and says he's going to make an unpopular reform, I think that guy's got guts.
Isn't it usually the vice president who makes unpopular reforms?
It's the vice president. It's the guy who keeps quiet, stays under the radar. And Melenio said during the campaign that he was going to do everything, and he warned us. It's going to be hard at first, but it's going to work out. Who, as a politician, does that? That's rare. Yes, so he deserves credit for doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that too. Okay. Other leaders, I can talk about local leaders, man. I became familiar with the work of Mauro Mendes, former governor of Mato Grosso. Great work, great work. There have been other good governors. Paulo Hartung from Espírito Santo did a great job, so you can find good examples there. I think that in public debate, for example, Ciro Gomes is extremely intelligent.
He came here and he's really nice.
He's a cool guy, a guy way above average.
He's currently in the PSDB, right? He returned, but he's also considered left-wing. Some even say he's more left-wing than Lula.
I think he's more right-wing than Bolsonaro.
Every time I say something different. He's a good guy. I like him.
You know why? Because he's smart. And that's what we're lacking. People like that. I met Mauro Mendes, who was governor of Mato Grosso, and I met Ciro. Both are very smart. That's why we need smart people who don't worry about fitting into a box. Smart people sometimes take risks and make mistakes because they're pursuing something new. We really need smart people. All we have is...
But we buy into speeches. Look, here's something. The Supreme Court is a big topic right now. Let's go. They made a decision you think is wrong. How do you react without causing an institutional crisis?
Well, it depends on the decision that was made and its nature. If, for example, there's a matter that's purely constitutional, I disagree, but it's within the Supreme Court's responsibilities, I'll respect it, disagreeing publicly, and I can have my caucus in Congress vote on an issue to overturn that decision.
An authoritarian decision, let's put it that way.
Let's take one. Let's take a really good case, one I've already mentioned in some places, which is the following. I'm going up into a favela to take down the Red Command. I'll take DACA, there in Rio de Janeiro. Then the Sustainability Network files an ADPF petition at the Supreme Court. Zando steps in, signs it, and forbids me from doing it.
Yes.
I won't comply. I will not comply. Let him arrest me if he wants. I refuse to comply, as this is clearly illegal. The President of the Republic has a constitutional duty to protect Brazil's territory. There's Comando Vermelho there. I saw a decision, a stroke of the pen, barring something that is constitutionally required. It's very, very wrong. I don't want to commit any illegality. I don't want to violate human rights, but I do want to fulfill the duty of the President of the Republic. Yeah, the Supreme Court, when it passed the favela ADPF ruling, practically prohibited you from destroying organized crime in the favelas. We are not going to respect an illegal decision, because illegal decisions are not to be respected. If you keep following illegal decisions, you are admitting that they are dictators. And I don't want a crisis. I just want them to do their job, and I'll do mine.
Sensitive topic, here we go. The dollar surges 40% in a month. What do you do in the first 48 hours, Renan?
I'm going to listen to my economic team, and I won't make any hasty decisions just to, for example, feed the media frenzy like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to spend all my reserves, all my foreign exchange reserves just to make noise to weather the storm. No, I have to see what assumptions led me to be so vulnerable to the point that because of something that happened, the dollar shot up. I can't have such a fragile government.
Do you have this team and are you talking to them yet?
I'm putting it together with Kim. So my biggest problem today, actually it's not even a problem, my biggest challenge now is to make this team go public and leave the companies they work for, because there are great people there.
It's not necessarily from politics.
Is it? No, we're in economics, but it's a great team. These are people in important, sensitive areas, and now that they're here, we have to bring them together to build an amazing team. Now, the best thing is, one thing is like that Ipiranga gas station thing, like, I need to say that I'll have someone strong on the economy because I myself can't defend it or don't believe in it. I believe in it. Even before calling someone, I can say, I'm going to do this, this, and that. So, in general, you'll be going through a speculative attack, or you have such a big weakness from a fiscal or exchange rate point of view that it made the dollar skyrocket. I don't intend to be in a situation like that. I think if I get into one, I won't take populist measures to solve it. Which is like, I don't know, I'll spend your reserves just to say to...
But you tend to delegate because, from what I understood, you tend to delegate.
Of course.
Because a lot of people think the president is that guy who knows everything.
Many believe the president controls everything, but that's not true.
Is there anything you feel you don't know much about? I'd really like to learn about this. I think
I can't afford to not know anything about any subject. But I can't be. Something that's even worse, which is the guy who thinks he knows everything about everything.
I agree. So,
I have to understand some topics very well. I have to understand coalition building very well. I have to know a lot about the history of Brazil. I have to have a very solid thesis about Brazil. Economic and security issues are the easiest parts. I have to understand some specific areas like, what is your vaccination policy for, I don't know. How are you going to fight chikungunya? I'm not a specialist in chikungunya, but I understand that the unified health system is good and that with the use of technology and good management, it will improve a lot. I think we can do better here, and then it's about sticking to it. And we'll have a technical team to take care of this, and I'll delegate.
Let's go. I'll say something that interests you. A gang takes over a Brazilian capital for a week. Under what conditions should the army be deployed?
If a gang controls a Brazilian capital, I'll put that capital under those measures. State of siege or state of defense, restricted to that area. Just like when Michel Temer used the GLO only during the operation in the favelas in Rio, not across all of Brazil. You might say Renan is authoritarian and wants to impose this on Brazil, but no, it's only in that area. And then I'm going to use the police force because they have combat experience and as an auxiliary force to the armed forces. For example, suppose they took over Rio de Janeiro. And it's really funny because they've already taken over Rio de Janeiro. Yes, of course, he has already taken over Rio de Janeiro indeed. Yeah. So what are you going to do? Well, let's deploy the combat forces, the police of Rio de Janeiro. I can bring in other auxiliary forces to take back the areas that organized crime is occupying. And at the same time, to provide protection on the streets, I can deploy the armed forces, right, to do visible street patrols like the police do. In a supporting role, not intensively, since the police have the most combat experience in intensive operations.
The United States demands that Brazil choose between them and China. It's something that's pretty close, right, in terms of a strategic agreement. How do you respond to that? What would be President Renan's decision?
That should be the main topic of the campaign because that's it. Yes.
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen. One side only likes China, the other only likes the United States. Those are the two. And I think the following. What are the United States proposing to us about rare earths? Look, just so people can really understand the topic. The world is going through two revolutions, one in artificial intelligence and another in next-generation industrialization through rare earths. The two are connected, actually. You won't have semiconductors unless you also have rare earths and semiconductors and chips and NVIDIA boards and so on. All of them go into AI. So the AI revolution and the rare earths revolution are happening. Does Brazil have technology in any of these areas? No, zero. Is Brazil at the forefront of this? No, it's not. Now, the global infrastructure to make this happen needs to go through Brazil. Energy for data centers, space for data centers.
That's absurd.
Colossal.
When artificial intelligence appeared, I almost said, Brazil, come here to become a global power.
This will help us greatly if we have the infrastructure to receive it, especially with the advantage of cabling. So, if there's fiber optic cabling that comes from the United States, passes through Fortaleza, then goes to Europe, we're well positioned and we have energy, and it's clean energy. Let's invest in this and acquire infrastructure that the world, in part, depends on. And then this infrastructure allows for international agreements, technology exchange, transfer. This puts us in the game.
The power is with us.
Exactly. Rare earth as well. Imagine China has, I think, 70% of the reserves and 90% of the world's rare earth processing. This rare earth that's processed in China goes to the United States and becomes the component that goes into the American warplane. Trump started this tariff fight with China, and China warned, well, I'm not going to send you these components. There won't be any more American warplanes, so the United States is panicking. They started to set up an American rare earth company, US Rare Earths. I'm terrible at soccer. It's earths in English. It's hard, in a country accent. And they're buying pieces, they're wanting to invest a lot of technology and processing to close the gap with China. Where will they extract this rare earth? Brazil holds 20% of the reserves with plenty remaining and potential for more discoveries. They'd have to turn to Brazil. They want to turn to Brazil, even as they compete commercially with it. And then Brazil has to be in a position where China can turn to us and say, Brazil, together we can monopolize the world's rare earths, and the world will have to kneel before us. More for China than for us. They have more reserves, more technology. Are you joining the fight? Are we teaming up? Recognizing this is nearly a declaration of war for the United States.
But then nobody goes to Disney. Yeah.
Knowing they have many missiles here that could destroy us quickly. On the other side, the United States. I want to exploit your rare earths. The United States proposal is not very diplomatic.
It's authoritarian.
Here's the plan. I'll extract it, send it to the United States, and develop the processing technology there. For Brazil, the hypothesis has to be, I can only partner with China in a case where I guarantee my own sovereignty. And that I not only do the extraction, but also the processing and development. For example, you take dysprosium, I think it's dysprosium, or neodymium, both. It becomes a magnet. The magnet will become a battery. A battery that goes into a drone, a battery that goes into a car. I want to get to making car batteries here within 15 years. How do I make this technology transfer happen? It's about bringing international partners here. We also need a competitiveness agenda, since it makes no sense to force rare earth production here if interest rates are high. There's no legal certainty, infrastructure is poor, or energy prices are too high. If costs rise, it's easier to move production to China. No one will want to do business here, which is the main issue with Brazil's industrialization programs. They're a joke. So, I have to do my homework. And then I can see a way forward. There's the American way, which necessarily involves us having to develop this technology together. I have the reserve, so while you make the magnet, I also want to make the magnet and the battery. I want to do a joint venture in everything that involves this, so I can make a technological leap and become a global player. But it's not just between the two of us. Japan needs rare earths because they also want this industry. Taiwan already needs rare earths. The European Union needs it badly. So it's not just them. Canada, we can form a lot of partnerships. I think Brazil needs to look elsewhere, not just stay stuck in the dichotomy and start making partnerships so we can understand that we need to build the entire chain here, the construction of the rare earth supply chain. It's about building a data center industry here. I think it puts us in a position where we close this gap, where we're a country that's very behind. And from here, we're not going to become China or the United States, but we're here and we're moving forward. Man, what we've grown here is a lot. So much better salary improvement, so much better quality of life, we become a real country. Did I talk too much? But I think no, I thought it was really good.
Exactly. I was actually about to ask if we're experiencing a time of hopelessness. About hope, we're 42 years old, we have that feeling like, man, I've heard this phrase that Brazil is going to collapse for 200 years now. Brazil is always supposedly about to collapse, every president and all that. You, outside of the election, you, Renan, as a Brazilian citizen, what is your hope for Brazil? Renan, you don't want to be president anymore. You've let it go. You had 3 daughters, right? You as a voter, Renan, a citizen, a Brazilian, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do because, you know that thing about the flower in the landfill? Yeah, you go to a really bad place in Brazil and you find some amazing experiences. I was in Maranhão's countryside and saw Impasa, a corn plant turning corn into ethanol for export to the US, in a place that was nothing just 20 years ago. I see the experience of Mato Grosso. Man, Mato Grosso has changed so much. 4 million people, a super developed state. I mean, it's like Texas. It has nothing to do with the rest of Brazil. So what are these people doing? Many good things are happening in different places because of them, even with Brazil's institutional sabotage. So yeah, Brazil has good human capital. Brazil has resources. It can work out. The problem is literally to unlock the political model that makes unproductive Brazil rule over productive Brazil. The problem is those who rule don't work and don't produce, and those who obey work and produce, and that's the worst system of all.
Amazing. Is there anything you'd like to add here?
I wanted to thank you, man. And man, the show was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. That's the idea. I think, like, the invitation is open. People, Caiado, Lula, who else? Bolsonaro, man. Who else is out there? Zema, who's coming next? Virginia, I think she's coming.
Going with Virginia for president in 2030?
Yes, she's coming. Virginia for president with a Virginia and Neymar ticket. A strong ticket is coming.
Yeah, she would win, okay? Damn.
You don't agree? This is the ticket we want.
I'm not allowed to have an opinion about celebrities.
Swear to God?
That's the famous one.
That's a lie. Red Command, here's what I think. I'm going to finish them off. Virginia, congratulations on your work.
Man weeping who does important work in the national fashion industry.
You can talk about that.
Because I keep having a lot of opinions, right? But it's not like I'm going to stop having my opinions, but it's just that, like,
People say, look, the only one who can take down the president of the republic is Virginia, man.
what a wonderful thing. No, just Virginia. I'm about to.
BTS can take you down too.
BTS is important. What's important is,
Bring up something that destroys your campaign.
yeah, BTS, Virginia, some soccer players, you know.
Did you know that's how I would win Big Brother, man? I've already said that. I would win Big Brother because of other people's mistakes, not because of my own achievements. Pool, I'm there. I go up to the guy and say,
What do you think about BTS?
about BTS? The ex-PSS? I kill it. A discussion starts when I come back. Where's Eliezer? He's already left. That's it. That's how I'm going to win Big Brother.
What are your thoughts on Neymar's attitude?
What do you think about Virginia? Wait, I'll just go there. Where's Babu? Babu vanished, so I win Big Brother.
That's it, because, you know, the energy people need to spend on good things. It's all being spent on D'Elaine. Oh, D'Elaine, man. If you said, would we think about giving up on Brazil? There's a video. D'Elaine, PCC's money launderer. Money launderer. Man, I'm saying this here without fear of being sued. She's in jail. Okay, PCC's money launderer. She was in jail for something else in Ceará or Pernambuco. There was a vigil. D'Elaine's fans were crying, asking for her to be released. Because she was a diva. The argument is she's a diva, so they can't arrest her. I said, man, that woman is on Bolsa Familia. She's in front of a police station in Pirapora or whatever it's called. And she's defending a drug dealer in there because she's famous. And if you say something bad about D'Elaine, you'll get attacked.
Yes, you speak, so that's what I'm saying. When does it come, huh?
It comes. This moment comes many times, like, what am I doing with my life? Do these people really deserve this? Every 15 minutes?
So that's it. I think that's the big question.
Every 15 minutes, Ordowan's fans. You know what I mean, Renan? But it's just some trap music, man. You know he's just talking about the reality in Brazil. Man, he's Marcinho VP's son. So what, you know? His dad even has a different perspective now, you know? Everyone is their own person, man. But he's defending him like he's hiding fugitives from the justice from Commando Vermelho in his house. You know? The guy is just friends with his friends. He's not responsible for the things his friends did, you know? I don't believe this, man. No, I don't, man.
The one who's going to bring you down is Leo Diaz, man.
Leo Diaz messes with my head. All he has to do is get my opinions about most Brazilian celebrities.
Ah,
Wesley Safadão. What? Come on. Safadão too? Safadão? I'm legally forbidden to talk about Wesley Safadão. Why are you talking about him? Why? Wesley Safadão? I'm going to talk. So, I'll get another sentence, but let's go, because it's good. And that's where the show ended, but can I? You can. Man, it's like this. Here's the thing about Wesley Safadão, man. I found out there's an industry of city-sponsored shows funded by deputies' amendments, and the city hall is crap. It's over. The show is already okay. It's a mess. That city shouldn't even exist. It should be merged with another municipality. Then the mayor, who's a bum and does nothing for 4 years, comes election year and puts on a Wesley Safadão show. The people were great. It was packed. Everyone was dancing there. He secures funding for the show, and Wesley even campaigns for him on stage.
I wanted to thank Claudinho from the tire shop.
But it's an industry. Like, it's not like he does this in just 10 cities. And it's not just him. There's an industry of several sertanejo singers, technobrega artists, and so on, who travel around small towns getting earmarked funds from lawmakers and receiving fortunes, millions per show, and campaigning for these corrupt politicians. That's why I mentioned him. It's just that Wesley Safadão was a case like that, but Safadismo isn't as powerful as Virginismo. So I criticized him, and it stuck, and he had to defend himself. Then he went to court, and interestingly, the court in Ceará forbade me from talking about this subject.
Man, so you're telling me that this actually exists? It's really crazy. Look at us. We've been chatting for an hour and a half. We've discussed everything. Your controversies, the guy. Talking about celebrities is where you can get in trouble, man.
Yeah, because it's the country.
Because it's a thing about...
I'll explain it to you. It's a cursed country, man. It's a cursed country. This place is pure joker. I'm about to lose it. I behaved the whole show. It's cursed. I'm telling you, they dropped a bomb here. It's cursed. How could they have done this to a nation with such huge potential? People's concern is, I swear to you, it's that we solved this issue. Amanda, our councilwoman, came up with the anti-Orwa law, and then we turned things around. But it took a year and a half. For a year and a half, we suffered. You know what I mean? What are you talking about? You know, it's just some trap music. You know, he's talking about reality. No, one thing is to talk about reality. Mano Brown talks about reality. He might hate me since he's a PT supporter, but I don't think Mano Brown represents the PCC. It's different from a guy like MC Rian, who was arrested. He's a spokesperson, and he laundered money for the PCC. Pose de Rodo launders money for the Comando Vermelho. And then the guy, you're talking about the guy. He has his own hustle, the guy is hustling. Look, not me, the guy. Stop. Fans of Deolane, fans of Virginia, fans of some soccer players.
It's because it turns into an army.
It's an army. And it's scary because these people, they've kind of lost their individuality. They're living their achievements through the guy. So Orduan bought a Ferrari, Our Ferrari arrived, bro. How did our Ferrari arrive, bro? He's a drug dealer.
The favela one, right?
I'm taking his car. No, you aren't. The car belongs to us. People live. People, man. Damn.
So you're talking about mentality.
At home, but it's so... And
so how do you change the...
mindset? So we did an hour and a half of the show, right? Yes. We're done. What we did here, the tip of the iceberg? Yes. We were just talking about the tip of the iceberg. The political problem. Corruption. Now, who wants to go deeper? Want to dive in? The Brazilian mass culture. Worst mass culture in the world, okay? That's why, Blaze, all of them, all the online casinos, all the scams that work in the world, absolutely all of them are more prevalent here. All of them. Why? Do you know why? Because it's a society that's not really based on trust. Man is a wolf to his own kind, stealing from each other. And since you have a large number of people with very little education, do you know how many Brazilians are actually proficient in Portuguese? 8%. Who know how to read, write, and interpret? Yes. Let me recite.
8! And none of them are here. Mauricio hired none of them.
23% functionally illiterate. A few more are illiterate, and then there are some in between who kind of know how to read and kind of don't. The number of people who, let's say, take advantage of the ignorance of the poorest is huge. One of those poorer people, a woman who follows Deolane, what am I going to say to her? First, I want her to vote for me. But sometimes it won't even work, because she'll just get mad, like, yeah, he lost.
Deolane?
Uh-huh. That person doesn't know their priorities. Brazil, along with India, Pakistan, and I think some African country, is one of the countries most hooked on social media in the world. We have countries where people live their lives through celebrities. They've lost track of what's really important to them and are constantly being deceived by all kinds of opportunists. From the guy involved in the INSS scandal, which was basically a bunch of mass messages to get old folks to take out payroll-deducted loans against their pensions, okay? To the old man who spends all day gambling online. And this is where we get into the real Brazilian iceberg. Unfortunately, we can't talk about everything on this show, but that's where the heartache comes in.
But that's not something you can change in 4 years.
You can't do it in 4 years, but you can start to change, because this is the real problem. And this is the problem. You only have corrupt politicians because people have been turned into slaves, and a lot of things will need to be changed. And that's very controversial. It's very controversial. I'm going to ban online casinos in Brazil. Yeah, all kinds of scams, digital scams, which are basically the norm on the Brazilian internet. All these influencers, all of them, PH Joias, Buzeira, all of them were running online scams.
Like those raffles.
Everything. They're multimillionaires from online scams. Multimillionaires, you see it and think, I doubt anyone would buy this. All this is going to have to be heavily criminalized. But we're going to have to criminalize a lot of things, and a lot of people are going to get really mad about it. But to create a culture, you first have to impose discipline, because the discipline is going to be really tough. We're going to have to... People stop smoking indoors because a tough law gets passed. It's like seatbelts. The seatbelt is the same thing. You're going to have to bring in a tough law until people say, yeah, really, it's like the mask. Okay. But that's the remedy. People are devastated in Brazil.
All right, so there you have it. Renan Santos won't talk about Virginia anymore until October, nor about Safadão. We noticed that. Hey, Renan, so as a pre-candidate, I have to talk, right? Otherwise, I'll get arrested.
It depends. Arrested if the video comes out.
Yeah? Next week. No, as a pre-candidate.
Candidate, thank you.
For the STF crowd at the show, pre-candidate, maybe he'll give up. Could it be? Maybe he doesn't want it anymore. Maybe this video is for him. Can I say it? Maybe he already did. That's why pre. He's not there yet. Pre. He's thinking about it. Maybe in 10 years. At the moment, Renan Santos is a pre-candidate. Once again, the invitation is open to all the other pre-candidates who want to join this conversation here. I wanted to thank you, Renan. The conversation was really great. Here in the video description, if you're just hearing about Renan now, which I think is unlikely because I think he's been in the public debate for quite some time, Renan's social media is here. If you want to chat with him, if you want to be a first lady, maybe now is a good time. for you to send a message. First gentleman, we don't know what the strategy is. We don't know about it, right? Could it be? It could be anyone.
BTS's audience, right?
We don't know if you want to be the first East Asian First Lady in history. Anyway, once again, this is Achismos. Leave your like here, the famous one, you know, write it down like this. Leave a comment. You need to, man. No, I don't want to. Don't join. No, you have to do it, man. Yeah, do I have to ask? Of course you have to do it, man. I don't want you to do it. Otherwise, look, otherwise I'm forcing people, man. Do whatever you want. Do you want to? Did you like it? It has to be tough. Sometimes it has to be tough. Leave it. Want to like it? Let me find the thumbs up. This guy hated it. The guy is staying with the other one over there. Okay, if you didn't like it, I don't want it. I don't want it. Remove the like. If you didn't like it, don't comment. Thanks, everyone. Bye.